Good morning. It's 11 o'clock, just after, I think, on Saturday the 18th of February. Hi, I'm Paula from On a String, and I'm going to be demonstrating my Facebook Live today on Design on the Fly featuring hearts. And I'm really pleased to announce that Angie from Chicky Babes Beads is one of our sponsors today. So Angie has supplied a range of heart-shaped beads for me to use in this demonstration today, and I'll be unboxing those shortly and going through and showing people exactly what is in this little box of hearts. So I've also got some other heart-themed pieces that I want to show today as well. And today's session is really, when it's called Design on the Fly, I have no idea what's in the box that Angie's given me. So I will be making it up as we go along today, and it'll be really interesting to see what comes out of that. This will be a Facebook Live session, so I'll do my best to answer comments and questions, etc. as they come up. It'll be available on my feed later on after it's finished. Hi Shelley, nice to see you from Texas. I'm glad you've come along. And this will also be available on YouTube once I actually upload it there as well. So hopefully my camera today is a much better quality than the last one. So I've changed the setup a little bit, so I'm hoping that works for everybody as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually flip the camera over and pop onto my bead board so that you can actually see some of the heart-shaped things that we'll be talking about today. So bear with me one moment. Okay, so what I've actually got here is a whole lot of different things that are heart-shaped. And I thought it'd be a great way to actually just show how you can use different heart-shaped pieces in beading. One of the very first things I did, this is probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, or maybe longer, maybe 10. This was a design called Winged Hearts, and this is by the designer Sherry Serafini. One of my favourite all-time pieces. I've worn this one to death. So it's actually got what's called a raku-fied clay heart in the centre of it. Some beautiful fringing all the way around, some little dangles, and these really cute eyelashes that are on the side. So that's a bronze version. And I loved that one so much, I made a second one. So there's a red-shaped version of that as well. So again, it's got the central raku clay heart, and they're by a designer called Mac Kasparian from Mac Beads. So if you're looking for these raku hearts, that's where they're located. And I've paired that one with a vintage red button. Again, some little drops, the fringing, the eyelashes, etc. I actually made one of those for my sister as well, so that's been a really popular design. This is another one that I've done, and this is what I call a essential oil pendant. So you can see here it's heavily encrusted all on one side with crystals and pearls, and it's got a central focal bead as well. But the opposite side actually showcases this central woolen felt hole, and that's where you can put a few drops of your favourite essential oil bead. And this is a design I've made several times. It's a really contemporary looking piece, I suppose, and I've just hung that off a standard commercial chain. And it actually starts off with something like this. So this is a felted heart, and that's what it's a woolen felted heart. So that's what I use in the centre of those types of pieces. A couple of other things I thought I'd just share with you, some other hearts that I've picked up from other clay makers. So I'm not a clay maker myself. I can dabble, but I'm not a clay maker, but I love to buy pieces. So this is one that's come from Jenny Church. So I just looked through my stash and found all the different sort of heart pieces that I've got. So that's a polymer clay one from Jenny. And I've got these two gorgeous hearts here that come from Gil Scott, the clay lady down under up in Queensland. So there's this gorgeous rainbow effect heart, and it's quite a wide looking piece. So it's something I probably need to think about in terms of how I'm going to capture it. And then of course there's this other gorgeous black polymer clay one. Really doesn't need much adornment on it because it's pretty spectacular as it is. Got this beautiful gold foiling and then a central gold crystal on there as well. The other one who I get little hearts from like this are from Leanne Fergus. So Leanne's a fantastic polymer clay artist, and she always pops little hearts in with your order. So I always use these and make earrings for them as thank yous for people who purchase from me. So if you get a pair of these, you know they've come from Leanne Fergus. Another little resin polymer clay heart I have here. This one's from my friend Peggy Goldblatt in the States. So Peggy sent me over a whole lot of different polymer clay pieces. And you can see there it's got a bit of stenciling and some sort of tie-dye effect. And that's a polymer clay piece there. This one's really interesting. A friend gave me this one at work a while ago just to sort of have here to think about what to do. So I don't know what to do with this yet, but it's so sparkly. I'm sure I'll find something, and it'll be really interesting to see. You know, I might stuff that with some sort of fabric. I don't really know yet, but I just thought I'd show that, you know, there's so many other components you can add to your beading that are not just beads. There's other things you can pop in as well. And of course, just lastly, 2 little tiny heart crystals as well. So these ones, I think you get little stashes of these from time to time, but they make a really nice feature in some pendants. And if you looked at my stories during the week, I popped up one that was a painted lady pendant that had a little red heart in it. That was one of those. Okay, so who's ready for the unboxing of the hearts from Angie today? I've actually got the box right here, and how gorgeous is this? She's wrapped this and put it in a box with hearts on it, and you and me, we're all going to be together to see actually what Angie has popped in this box. So we have, okay, some red. Oh, there's one heart. Oh, a heart within a heart. Oh, that's interesting. So there's the first piece, a heart within a heart. I'll have to think about how to utilise that one. Some bubble wrap, more bubble wrap. Okay, now Angie knows me and knows what colours I love as well. So if you ever get a chance to get up to Angie's shop in Shepparton, oh wow, that's fabulous. Look at that, that's a gorgeous pink heart. Oh, I love that. Oh, sorry, button. I love, love, love the colours on that. That's really cool. And Angie, oh, I like that. Angie's shop up in Shepparton is an absolute treasure trove. I've never seen anything like it. So if you ever get a chance to go there, by all means, head up to Angie's and see what she's got. Look at these gorgeous stamens she's popped in here. Beautiful rose gold colours. Different sort of bead caps, but I like to use these, as I said, as stamens in the centre of things. So automatically now I'm starting to see these rose gold little centres, you know, popped on the top of something like that. So we'll think about how that comes together. Oh, she's popped some pink silk cord in there for me as well. Fantastic. So that's some beautiful pink cord, and that goes really nicely with that piece there. I don't know what this one is, but I've got a feeling it might be a glass heart. Aha, I was right. Look at that, gorgeous pink glass heart. So automatically I can see how these two things could potentially hang together as well. Gee, I love that button, that's gorgeous. Okay, what's in the second layer? Ah, 2 little red hearts. Well, straight away, there's a pair of earrings. Straight away, I can see how I'm going to do a hook and a little bit of bead fringing on them. So I'll definitely make those today. Oh, a silver bead cap. Wow, that's really cool. That's really good over the top of a tassel, potentially. That would work really well. So look at that one there. Gorgeous. Yeah, I can really see there'll be a tassel that will go in the centre of that. So comments, thoughts, anybody got any thoughts on what they've seen so far that they'd like me to play with? Oh, wow. Look at this. A bubble. It's like a plasticky sort of material. Wow, that's so, so cool. So obviously to string through that, you're going to see the string through the centre of it. But, you know, if you use a really cool coloured cotton or something, that'll look fabulous. And again, you know, you can combine sort of 2 pieces together like that. Oh, I really like that. What's in here? So as I said, Angie's shop up in Shepparton, an amazing place. Oh, look at this one. So this is a key with some little holes on there. So to hang things, so potentially that could be sort of 5 beaded tassels maybe that might hang off that. You could then put your sort of chain to come off there. Well, that's really interesting. I don't know, it doesn't open or anything. It's just a piece. Wow. Okay, I'll have to have a think about that. Anyone seen one of these before? I've never seen that one before. That's really interesting. And look at this. She's got 2 more silver pieces in here, again, that look like hearts. Oh, they're amazing too. So these are going to be a gorgeous pair of earrings. Straight away, I can see how they'll come together. So they've got a lovely big hole in the centre of there, so we'll potentially do some fringing out of that straight off a big hook. They're really nice. Oh, Angie finds the most amazing pieces up there in Shepparton. Oh gosh, there's another layer in here. Wow, okay. What's this one? Oh, this is a brooch back or a brooch piece. Oh, that's really cool too. You can see there it's got the brooch at the back of it. So, you know, with that dangling part there, you know, we can hang something straight away off that and make a brooch. So you can see how that heart and that brooch back piece will go together. I think that's what I'll do with that actually. What else has she put in here for me? Oh, some little red vintage crystals by the look of things. So they've got little 3 holes on them. So they're fabulous for something like bead embroidery. That's really cool. So they're like they're a sort of a crystal paste, but you can see, you know, with the red, how thematically they go together so well as well. What else? Oh, look, the key is really interesting, isn't it, Shelley? I'm not sure. I'll have to have a think about that. Look at these little red drop beads. So they're just a little tiny red drop. They're going to be great for some fringing on something. Now, the idea today, of course, is that I'm going to try and use as many of these pieces that Angie has popped in, but I'm going to add in my own things to it as well. So there's some red, huge in the beading world, some sort of pony-shaped bead in red as well there. And look at these are gorgeous. So these are ginkgo beads. I know what these are straight away. So it's the ginkgo shape leaf. And they've got a hole through them. They've got 2 holes. So I'll just pop that there so you can see. 2 holes there. And these make a beautiful earring. You can bead these around in bead embroidery, all sorts of things. So I'll definitely be using those today as well. Okay, so is that it? Yep, the box is empty. Well, Angie, can I just say you've absolutely blown me away with all of this today. It's fantastic. And I really look forward to starting to put some of this together. So I'll just put that rubbish over to one side. Okay, so I think what I'm going to start with is something really easy today. So these little red hearts. So these are an enamel heart. They've got a nice sort of foiled gold edge on them. Got a little hole, and straight away, these are going to be a lovely pair of earrings. So what I'm going to need to grab for them is a couple of hooks, and what I will use is my large round hooks to go in that. So I will just open up my earring hook box. Bear in mind, I didn't know what was going to be in this box today, so we will all be surprised with what comes out at the end. And I think these round hoops will be perfect for this. And what it's going to need is a little bit of fringing, and I think the fringing will be in gold and in crystal and red. So something like these sort of 4mm bicone crystals, they're going to give a little bit of sparkle on that. I might use a couple of these little red drops in there as well. And then I think the other colour to go in that will actually be gold. So I'm just going to grab out of my bead stash some gold beads to go on there as well. So you can see here I've got some little 4mm gold hematite beads as well. So I think that's going to make those. The button's different, isn't it, Lorraine? I agree. The button is absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to use that. It's just such great colours. So, but I'm going to do these earrings first. So really simple. And when I do this type of bead fringing, for me, it's really only a matter of, 5 or 6 beads are enough on a piece like this. I'm just using my boomerang cutters to cut fire line, and I am using 6-pound crystal fire line to make these. For me, 5 or 6 beads on something like this is generally enough. You don't need anything more than that because you end up taking away from your piece as well. And one of the ways that I make these types of earrings, hi Kristen, oh, you're sitting in Angie's shop. Oh, fantastic. I'm so pleased to hear that you're all up there watching in Shepparton today. That's great. Hi Angie, thanks for this great haul of stuff. So you can see here, I've just popped that little red heart straight away onto that hoop. Now, look, Anybody can make that. That's a really simple, easy beading project. But I'm going to just do a little bit of on a string flair on that. So for me, that means adding beads. And I love to add beads to all sorts of things. So what I'm going to put with this is some gold size 11 beads as well. I've just got to grab some. Yep, so I've got two lots of gold 11 beads here. Sorry, 11 and a 15. So there's some little 15 beads. And here is some 11 beads. And this is a really, really simple way to make a pair of earrings. So the first thing I've done there, you can see, is I've put the hook on, and I've just done the hook up so we know that it's going to stay in place. Now what I'm going to do is thread my needle through so that it goes through to the back of the earring there. I'm just going to put my thumb on and hold my thumb on that thread so that it doesn't disappear. I've picked up a size 11 bead, and I'm just going to come back through that hole. And what that does is then starts to secure my thread on the back. Now you can't see that, it's on the back of the earring, but what it does is give me a really nice anchor point to be able to hold on to my earrings as I'm making them. So I'm just popping out some beads on the desk here. So I've got some gold and some red and some crystal, because I think that's perfect colour combo to go with these hearts. I'm hanging on to my tail thread. Just put the hoop out of the way, and I've got my working thread here in my hand. So what I'm doing is I'm picking up a size 11 bead, one of my size 4 feature beads, and then a size 15 bead. This is a really, really simple fringing method that just adds a bit of flair to earrings. And they may only need 3 beads on this because they're not a huge piece. What I'm doing now is I'm going over, I'm not going back through the 15, I'm leaving that loose. I'm going back through the 4 mil and the size 11 bead. And what I've just done now is create a little bit of fringe on the front of that earring. Now to secure that, remember I put the size 11 bead at the back. I'm just going to go back through that size 11 bead again, like this, and then go back through that main hole. You just got to watch, that I'm not going to catch the hoop on there, but you can see there the hoop is still free. It's not caught up in the thread. And now I'm just going to repeat that with another combo. So a size 11 bead, a 4 mil bicone, and these are the AB bicones. These are just gorgeous. They have a really lovely sparkle to them. When they catch the light, they've got that little glimpse of colour that pops out. Again, I'm going to skip over the size 15 bead, go through the 4 mil and through the 11 again, go through that hole back to the back of my earring like that. And I remember I've got my size 11 at the back. I'm going to go through that. So again, I'm securing my thread and then go back through that main hole out to the front again. And I think maybe just one more bead is all these are going to need. So we've got these lovely little red drops. Now these are a little bit different. So I'm just going to pick up a 15, the drop bead, and then the 15. So I'm not fringing that as such like the other beads. I'm making that like a drop. You can see there that's just popped that little red bead. So 3 little beads is all that really needs on that. And what I'm going to do there is go back through my size 11 bead at the back. Hope you guys have got me on a big screen up there in Shepparton watching this. It'd be fantastic to think there's big screen beading happening up there. As I said, Angie's shop in Shepparton, she runs a range of different workshops there. She has midweek beading, Saturday beading, and often has guest tutors, including me. I tend to travel up there to Angie's as well and teach. So hi to everybody up there, but really I've never seen a bead store like it. It's an amazing treasure trove of things. Now what I've just done there is I've actually gone back through this little bead at the back a couple of times, and I'm just looping my thread through like that so that I'm actually securing it. And because I'm using the crystal thread, you actually can't see it. It's really well hidden. What I'm going to do now is just chop off my working thread. And then I'm going to chop off the tail, so that's well secure now. And all of a sudden, I now have one earring complete. So my hoop still moves on that earring, so they're easy to get off and on. It's got the heart-shaped feature there. It's got a little bit of fringe in the gold, the crystal, and the red, and really, really simple, easy pair of earrings to make. So if you're a beginner beader, this is a great little project for you to have a look at. So there's one design on the fly already done, and it's only 20 past 11. That's not too bad, is it? All right, so I'm going to actually put that one aside for the moment because I want to move on to some of the other treasure trove of things in here. People who know me know what a messy beader I am. I mean, I will try my best to keep tidy here, but I tend to end up with stuff all over the place. And then my husband will say, God, you've got a mess in there. You need to clean that up. And I spend the next couple of hours tidying things. But look at me go. Cleaning as I go today. Okay, so any requests for things to try next? We've got the brooch back, we've got the locket piece with the key, we've got the button, we've got the bubble. So these are some of the choices that we have here today. So I'm thinking these two things go together really well. That's going to be a great brooch with a drop heart. And that might have some sort of fringing from the bottom of it, I think. I love this bubble. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with that. It might have a little hat on it. Look, you know, we could do some sort of rose gold hat. Look, it just fits beautifully on there. That might work really well. It could be that some of these flower pieces, I love these. I'm going to have to get up and get some of those, are going to go on there too. And there's another sort of hat-shaped one. And, of course, there's these earrings here. So I think I might start with the brooch piece here. So the heart and the brooch will be the next one. Definitely going to get to that button today as well. And, you know, this session will go probably for about an hour or as long as I can talk. And ideally what I want to do is have, you know, 2 or 3 finished things out at the end of it. Okay, so let's have a good look at this brooch. So really, really cool piece. It's got the little brooch connector at the back, the pin, you know, with the safety locket there as well. So it keeps it locked in place when you wear it. Brooches, I think, are making a real comeback as well. And then it's got these fabulous little holes to be able to do things with. So bearing in mind I have this beautiful heart here, I think that's a really good fit to have those two things going together. So same sort of thing. I'm actually going to keep using this thread that I have here. So I have some gorgeous, you know, the crystal thread here. This will be just perfect for here. Again, I'm using the fire line because it's a really sturdy thread. But what I'm going to grab out is some silver and pink to go with that. So I need some pinkish sort of beads. Of course, that's probably the beads I have the most colour of. I think an Angie would know that. So I've got some 4mm pale pink pearls there. I've got some darker burgundy ones as well that might go really well. I've got some silvery bicone crystals that'll go with that too. And then I think maybe some sort of flower beads might be ideal with this as well. So I'm just going to grab out some flower beads. And I've got these. Oh, rose gold's not going to work. I've got these flower beads here. So I think maybe some of them might work with it too. Yeah, that might be interesting. Put them away. And then I think I need some silvery nickel beads as well, because that's a darker sort of nickel. So something like that. And that will probably need a 15, and I haven't got any there in my drawer, so I'll just grab out a size 15 nickel bead as well. Yep, there's one there. So these will be the beads that complement that. So most things that I work with will have a metallic bead that goes with it. So the metallic bead is, you know, really to accent that piece there. And what I find is that the metallic beads go really, really well, you know, just to match your general jewellery. So I'm just going to thread through that heart bead there. And I want to actually secure onto this brooch piece. So I'm going to do a loop of size 11 seed beads just to make a little sort of protector to sit on that thread and to go through the hole. And I think those beads will probably go through. If not, they'll go either side. So I'll pick up maybe 7, 8, 9, 10, what have I got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 beads there. And I'm going to go through that hole that's at the bottom of that brooch. Again, I'm holding on to my tail thread. Okay, so they're not going to go through the hole. That's okay. So I'm now going to pick up another 9 beads. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There. And go back down through that hole. Now, because this has got a large sort of hole, I'm just going to take that off for a second. My beads have gone in that hole. Okay, well, that's not going to work. Let's rethink that design, Paula, because the beads went straight down that hole. So I'm going to need a larger bead to sit on the top of that heart to stop those going through the hole. So what's Angie given me? Nothing in the silvers to match. Oh, maybe. No, because, oh, maybe that might go that end. Oh, look at that. That's going to go there, I think. Yeah, that's better. I think maybe I might use a crystal to do that because the crystal will not go through the hole. So I've just picked up a 4mm bicone crystal there. Okay, so again, remember I have this gorgeous head pin piece here. Bead cap, is that what you call it? That's the right term. I'm just going to pull my needle all the way through that. I might pop a crystal in between, same thing so that it doesn't go through the hole. And then another crystal before we join onto that brooch piece. So look at that. I've got that little sort of trio, it'll be this trio of things here. And I'm only going to pick up 5 this time because I know they don't go through the hole. So I'll pick up 5 and pick up another 5. Now, again, this is, you know, not a really difficult or complex project to make. For someone who's a beginner beader, this is pretty much stringing, but just using different components to do that. So now I'm going to come back through the crystal, through the big heart, through the crystal, and back through that head pin, bead cap again. And now look at that. I've got this little trio of components together. And I wonder what Angie had in mind. Did she think this is what I was going to be able to do or not? Be curious. Angie, if you're watching, what did you think I'd make of all of these things? Now, what I want to try and have in that bead cap is a stop bead to stop it coming undone. And I just need, you know, like a 4mm bead that goes in there, and I'm going to use one of these grey ones here. Just a plain little grey 4mm bead, and I'm going to thread through that so that it goes right up in the into that bead cap there, down there, and then I'll pop just a size 11 bead on there, and I'm going to thread through all of those things again, because I think I know I grabbed out beads to do with this, but I think what I might do is actually put a tassel in there. So, Rosemary, I know you're not a pink person, but this is shaping up to be beautiful. Thank you. I know you don't love pink, but you know how much I do. And look, I think this is coming together really well. As I said, I've read a couple of things about brooches coming back, and look at this. We're going to have a really unique brooch. So you can see here I'm just going back through all those beads again, back through those 11s that I put that have gone through the hole. The other thing you could put on there is a little wire guard as well. There's another great way to protect your thread there too. I know Angie's a big fan of wire guards. I don't use them a lot, but you can actually pop a wire guard on there as well. So I've gone back through that heart. So now that heart has got sort of 3 or 4 bead threads going all the way through that. 4, I think we're up to now. Back through the crystal. Again. Through the end cap, back through the 4mm now. I've got to really poke my needle carefully to get into that bead that I put in there to stop it all. Nope, that's not it. I'll just pull that through for a second to check how tight it is. Look at this. Here we have a gorgeous brooch that's coming together. I'm just going to grab out a tassel because I think, ironically, I've got some tassels here that Angie sent me a little while ago. Maybe one of them is going to work beautifully. So I've got a pink one here. Angie does a challenge probably every, I don't know, maybe 6 months or so. And I did buy 2 of the challenges and I never got around to actually doing them. But they are here on my bead tray to actually do something with. Does the hot pink go? Let's have a bit of a vote. Hot pink, pale pink, or I think I have a grey tassel here somewhere that might go. It's very handy having access to all of this stuff as I'm working in it. So grey tassel might be the go, I think. Thoughts? Anybody got any thoughts? Pale pink. That's a close match, but it's not a perfect match. So I think it either needs to be a really good contrast or an exact match. And I've got another tassel here that's a pale pink. Yeah, it could also be a pendant. Absolutely. Grey, says Rosemary. What about that pale pink there? I'm going to swap that one out. So that pale pink might work in there. Silver from Shelley. Okay, the silver's winning. Not the hot pink, too much of a contrast. So the grey one. Okay, well let's have a look then at the silver. Just seeing if I've got another one here that doesn't have that end piece on it. And I don't know if I have, so that's okay. I'll just use that particular one. Okay, so the silver tassels, I tend to buy these sort of tassels in packs of 10 or so. They come from overseas somewhere, China, somewhere like that, I'd imagine. But yeah, these sort of little tassels are great for earrings or pendants, etc. So, okay, now I've got to work out how I'm going to secure that in there. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off this thread that holds the tassel together. I'm just going to try and leave the plastic on there for a little bit longer so that it doesn't get in the way, but I'm just going to cut that off because I don't need that. And one of the things that I do like to do with these tassels when I've cut that off is actually burn the end of it so that it doesn't fray. And I'm just going to find my lighter and I'm just going to quickly just touch that on the end there and just touch my finger on it so that it melts. Now that here, that means that now my little knot that's there is not going to come undone because I've cut off that holding piece, but it will still hold that head of the tassel in place. Okay, now that's going to fit really well in there. Look at that. I'm going to take off the plastic. So now we've got a brooch that's got this gorgeous tassel, and this little gap that's around the bottom here is going to be just perfect for adding beads onto. I need to do a little bit more work in securing that thread all the way through because there's a fair amount of weight hanging on there now, but it's going to look gorgeous with just some beads around the head of that tassel. So one of the things I'm going to do is just stitch right through now, so that I'm actually going to start to sew this tassel in place. So I've just run the thread through the tassel, and even if I go over that end cap pieces, we're going to cover that up with beads anyway, so you're not going to see that thread. But you can see here, I just ran that thread over the top of that little section there. So that straight away starts to hold the tassel in place. And it also helps with tightening up that thread path all the way through to the top of the brooch. So again, I'll just run my thread through the tassel, bring the cords of the tassel out of the way. Again, run that through. So now I've got sort of 3 really secure stitches over those little dotted arms there on the bead cap, and that's like a markazite finish. That's gorgeous, just to hold that in place like that. So that's now started to tighten here too, because I've added other threads down and stitched in here. That's now starting to tighten all the way through, and you can see there we've got a really nice brooch piece, probably too big for, sorry, my boobs are huge, so it's probably too big for my boobs to sit on, but for someone who wants to make a real statement with a brooch, this one is going to be gorgeous. And you could also do a conversion and put a chain on there as well and make it a pendant. So it's the sort of thing, these sort of components are really, really flexible in how you use them. So again, you can see I'm just stitching through and stitching over, using the head of the tassel to secure the bead cap in place. and just going through, oh, my thread just came off. I'll just tighten that, just going over and over. Now, what I want to do now is add some decoration onto this particular part of the piece. So, you know, little sort of fringed beads, you know, some of these beads that I popped out earlier I think are going to work. Even maybe some of these crystals that I used before will work as well. So let's grab out a couple of those. This is a good contrast colour. And, you know, we've got these lovely little gaps. I'm just going to cut off that tail thread too because that's going to annoy me. I'll get rid of that. Okay, so I've got these cool gaps here that I actually want to do something with. And I think if I pick up a size 11 bead, a pearl, and then a size 11, and I just go through that section there, let's see what that looks like. No, that's not going to work. Okay, this is what happens when you're designing on the fly. You're making it up as you go along. But I think, you know, this is going to be a really pretty finish and just create a focal point for this cap as well, because the beauty of using the silver is it's blended really well with the tassel, but I want to make this pop, so I want things to sort of stand out. And I've got these lovely holes at the top here, which also, if I bring my thread through to that, there, this might make a really nice spot to actually put a little bit of fringing. So again, I'm going to pick up an 11, a crystal, and then a 4 mil, and then a pearl, and a 15, and go back through. So I'm going back through the 4 mil and the 11, and I'm going to come out of the next hole here as well, like that. There we go. That's perfect. Look how well that little pearl has just popped into that hole there. Okay, let's do that all the way around. So an 11, a 4 mil, and a 15. I'm going to skip over the 15 and go back through the 4 mil and the 11, and then just maneuver my needle to come out of the next hole like that. So now I've got 2 on there. I add a third one, and I think there's 5 gaps, so there'll be 5 of these that'll pop onto the top of this tassel. And again, I'll skip over the 15, go through the 4 mil and the 11, back through, and then move my needle to come out again at the next hole. Okay, what are we thinking, people? We like the look of this? I think it looks really cool. So I think maybe some of these really interesting brooch pieces that Angie has, and look, I could probably do some more fringing off that hole too. Yeah, definitely worth a trip to Shepparton, but she can also, you know, take orders over the phone or email or that sort of stuff. So, you know, if you're really interested in having a bit of a sneak at some of the things, sneaky look at some of the things Angie's got, have a look at her website, and certainly have a look at her store if you get the chance. Rosemary, yes, your birthday is coming up. Not for several months yet, but it is coming up. That's correct. Look at that. So now I've got those. That looks really cool on the top of that piece there, like that. And there's still, you know, some little gaps here as well. So I might put something in the top of them too. And it's just taking advantage of, you know, these sort of natural spots. I'm just going to bend my needle a little bit to fit in there, force that in. These natural spots that have appeared in the way that we're designing this. I'm still going to do some more down the bottom here because I don't like to see that sort of wraparound thread. Yeah, Shelley, absolutely. I'll pop a link up to Angie's website on this yeah, at the finish. So it's Chicky Babes Beads. But yeah, I'll definitely pop some contact details for people to be able to see what Angie's stuff is. Okay, so now I'm going to repeat that again in these little holes. This time I've picked up the bicone. I need some more size 15s. So I've got an 11, a bicone, and now a 15. And I've come through this little hole that's at the top. So this is, you can just see in there where that grey bead is that I put in earlier. And this will now just cover up so you won't actually see that grey bead. And I probably need to grab a needle that's got a bit more of an angle to it. Actually, I will, because that needle is going to break. So I'm going to get a finer needle. I always use the biggest needle I can possibly do. Yeah, cup chain might work. Yeah, good suggestion, Rosemary. I always use the biggest needle I possibly can when I bead, and then when I have to, I swap to a smaller needle. So I've used a size 10 needle up until now, but I'm just swapping over to, this is probably a size 12, I think. They've got a little bit more flex. They can go through some of those holes that get a little bit full. I don't like to use these as a standard because I just find that they bend too easily for me, and I put a lot of pressure and force on them. So I like to use a bigger needle. Okay, but this time I need to have a bit of flexibility and maneuverability as well. So now again, skip over that 11 and the and I need to come out of one of those opposite holes. So let's just see how that goes through. I can feel that's nearly made its way in there. Maybe I might need to just go direct opposite. Nope. That's not quite. I want to come out of there. There it is. Come on. Nope. See, look how much I've bent that needle already, because I'm using a fair amount of force to try and get through that top of the head pin. But sometimes you can actually use pliers as well if you need to. Maybe I might go the other direction. That might be easier. Let's see. And if this doesn't work, then I'll abandon this and I'll move on to something else for... Oh, look, there it is. It's come through. So a bit of persistence. So now you can see I've just popped a bicone on there as well, on the top of that head pin. So now I'll pop 5 bicones all the way around as well. And look how that just starts to give a little bit more dimension and sparkle to the top of that bead cap. We've still got our heart theme happening. You know, this is going to be a beautiful brooch when it's finished. So brooch or pendant, absolutely, it could be both. Pop a chain onto the brooch pin and use it that way. And I think I probably need to do something more around the top here just to balance that out. And I think repeating this theme of fringing here at the top is probably what I'm going to do. So again, I've got my 11, 4mm and 15 on. I skip over the 15, go back through the 11 and the 4mm, and I want to come out of that next hole there. Look, that one was easy, super easy, that one was. Again, repeat that 11 bicone and a 15 bead. And I hope this camera seems to be much better today too for people as well. So it's not as blurry as the one that I did last time. So I hope that's certainly a much more pleasant viewing option as well. Again, I'm trying to maneuver my thread to come out of there. That's really tight there. My needle, look at my needle now. It's like a fishing hook. Just try and get that through there again. And part of the thrill of beading for me is being able to be creative and, you know, come up with designs that I haven't seen before. I do like to do other people's patterns and things too, but I certainly do enjoy the elements of being creative and making my own stuff up. And, you know, when you get access to really good supplies that can become great focals. So I'm going to just try and maneuver that with my pliers this time, maybe so I don't bend it as much. You know, when you get access to really good supplies, so whether they're, you know, bead store supplies or things like I showed you earlier, you know, hearts that I've gotten from different designers and things, it makes your beading and creativity really easy when you work with great stuff. So I'm pretty fortunate. I've got a lot of supplies here to work with, like most beaders, but it gives me the capability to be really creative with what I do. So yeah, I'm eternally grateful that I have access to lots of stuff to be able to play with. And in my, you know, bead studio, I've got the room to have that and the freedom to do it, which is really good as well. So I'm still struggling a little bit with that needle. Goodness me, that's really ugly now. How else am I going to get that through? Oh, it nearly went in there. Because I've only got to do 2 more to get that through. Maybe if I go, oh, look at the bend in that now. Goodness, no wonder I can't use that. Any suggestions how to get that through? Oh, look, there it goes. Come on, come on. Play with me. Be cooperative. No, that's not going to work. Okay, I'm going to have to rethink that because I just cannot get through those holes like that. So I'm going to take that off. Remember, design on the fly. This is what we do. We're making stuff up as we go. So something that I thought was going to work didn't work. So let's go back to my bigger needle because that's much easier for me to work with. You can see the damage I did to the finer needle. Look at that one. It's certainly got its own identity now. But I still want to try and cover up that. So maybe it's a matter of going around potentially. So maybe if I do a loop of 11 bicone, 11 bicone, 11 bicone, maybe 4 might do it. 11 bicone and 11. No, I've got one there already. And I'm going to wrap these around in a ring instead of trying to go through the top. Maybe one more. Let's do 5. 11 and one more bicone. And now if I just pop that around like that and I go through that first 11 that I added. And now I'm just going to create this little ring that sits over the top. Yeah, that's going to work better. Okay, so now, can you see there, I've just popped those crystals in as a ring, but I'm going to go through that a couple of times just to secure it because one pass through a fire line is definitely not going to do that, but a couple will hold that in place, and then I can just potentially just tack that down as well. So, yeah, I attempted to use the holes because it's always handy when there's some holes on things to be able to utilise them, but the holes proved too much of a challenge and certainly made my needle into a fishing hook. So again, I'm just going through those 11s and bicones a couple of times, and I've got this lovely little ring now that's sitting on the top of that bead cap there, like that. And when I tighten that up, that'll just sit as a little ring. And I think I will have to tack that somehow. Actually, what I'm going to do is take advantage of these other beads that I've put here. So see, if I come down here from this out through that 11 there, and then maybe I might pick up 1, 2, 3, maybe, yeah, three size 15 beads, and I'm going to go through that 15 on the pearl there, like that. So this is creating a sort of a netting effect, like that. See that? So I'm going to repeat that around now. So what I'm doing is being able to secure that ring by using those 4mm pearls that I put on earlier as an anchor. So, oh, look, that's perfect. So I've just picked up 3 size 15 beads and gone through the 4mm little stop bead on the 4mm that I put on earlier, and it's creating this really nice star effect on the top of that as well. So what do you think about that? I think it's a really nice finish. It sort of shows that sometimes you need to be adaptable when you're making these things. You can have a design in mind, but design on the fly means that you get to change your mind as you're doing it. So again, I'm coming out of the 15 stop bead on the first round of pearls that I popped on, and I'm just coming up through that size 11 that's in the little ring there, and I'll repeat that around, and it's created a nice little star pattern at the top. it's meant that I'm now securing that ring by attaching it to my previous work. And it's all of this is continuing to further tighten and tighten that bead thread through that heart right up to the top of the brooch there. Go through that size 11 there like that. Repeat that again. So this just takes a little bit of time to count and make sure that I'm going in and out of the right beads in the right pattern. Sorry, I just moved off camera then. Some more size 11s. Sorry, size 15s I need. 1, 2, 3. Again, back up through that size 11 on the top ring. 1, 2, 3. Back down through the stop bead on the pearl, and then 1, 2, 3 more. Back up through that size 11 there. Yeah, really happy with that now. That's a great finish. So look at that. We've got this gorgeous little sort of vintage looking star, I suppose you'd call it, with some pearls on the top. And now I'll do something around this bottom piece here. So I'm just going to come back through, because I want to maneuver my needle to come out at the right spot. So back through those first 3 beads added there. Back through that size 15, which is the stop bead. Oh, just tangle that, undo that. And I'm going to go back through that pearl, because that's going to get me down to the bottom where I need to be. If I just sort of push my needle, it'll come out somewhere. Hopefully, it should. I want to come out somewhere around here. So I'm just sort of trying to not push against metal, but trying to get the needle to come out on the thread, on the tassel head somehow. Come on. And again, I'm just using my pliers to push that. I sort of find that a bit easier, but it still hasn't gone through. Okay. There we go. It's come through. Now again, look how that's popped out of a little hole here. So that's potentially another spot to put another bead, or maybe a flower. Maybe a flower. Let's have a look at the flowers and see if they work. So these are a gorgeous pack of little flowers that I picked up, I think from Jane Tyson. So they're like a sort of a check flower, and they've got this, you know, different A-B sort of coating on them. They're probably about 3 or 4 mil, maybe 5 mil. So if I've come out of a hole on the side of that bead cap, and if I just pop a flower on there and I pop a size 15 in to hold it and go all the way through, if I come out of the opposite side, that would be great. Let's see if I can do that. Probably won't, because that's what I want to do. And now, look at that. I've now got a flower on there as well. So this is just a matter now of really, you know, popping my needle to come out of the right spot. So there it is again, that flower. There's another one in those colour tones. So it's sort of a bronzy, purpley pink tone. Again, I've popped a 15 on there to hold it in place. And I want to bring my needle out of that hole right there where my finger is to put it, there it is, to pop another flower on. So this is now becoming a really embellished tassel. It's looking really cool, actually. I'll pop another size, you know, little flower with a size 15 on there. Push that all the way through. So this is a real hearts and flowers pendant now. We've got the gorgeous heart in the centre. We've got a brooch piece in it. It's got a lovely tassel. It's got a bead cap, you know, and out of the pieces that Angie gave me, you know, 3 of those things have come directly out of that surprise box. So it's great to have the challenge of beads that somebody else has selected, and then I get to get creative with it. So one more flower to go in there. Now that's going to be the hardest one to get, I think. Again, you know, my needles, oh, there it goes. My needles screaming at me a little bit, you know, Paula, you've bent me and moved me, but it's gone into place. So now I've got 5 flowers on there as well. And I still want to try and do something, you know, to cover off the bottom of that tassel. That'll be one more. Okay. Now, look at that. We've got some flowers that are now, you know, embedded around there as well. We've got our heart. And I've got the tassel, the pendant top, sorry, the brooch top as well. So something here in this bit, you know, some cup chain maybe too. So what else have I got? One of the things I like to do is do, you know, a bit of a repeating pattern so that things are consistently together. So maybe my theme for here might actually be to continue this sort of 4 mil burgundy pearl like that, with the stopper bead, and then maybe do another ring of the crystals, because then that'll tie in with what I've put on the top. So it'll mean that the flowers are in the centre, and we've got this sort of repeating pattern at the bottom. Yeah, that's going to work. So this time I'm just picking up a 4 mil burgundy pearl and a size 15. I'm skipping over the 15 and using that tassel head, I'm threading through that and bringing my needle out of the next gap. There, like that. What do we think? How's things going up there in Angie's shop if you're still watching? What do you think of this combo? Has Angie got supplies there for everybody to be able to make something like this? We've got another 4 mil, size 15. And then repeat that again through that next bit gap there. Another one. And one more after this, and then some of those 4 mil bicons. Then I'm actually going to put a new thread on because my thread's starting to run a little bit short right now. I can feel that I'm playing thread chicken, and I'm not going to win. The thread is going to run out. One more burgundy bead. And pick up the 4 mil, the size 15. And so now you can see we've got that repeating theme there of the burgundy beads. And now I'm going to do that sort of crystal and star piece at the bottom there. So I'm actually going to put a new thread on because that's going to run short. Now, if people seen how to join file line, this is a really cool technique. So rather than, you know, finish off your thread and add a new one in, what I'm going to do is just add, put my new piece of thread on my needle, and then I'm going to use my handy lighter there to do a melted join and join the tail of my working thread that I've currently got on the piece with my new thread that I've just added. I'll move my fishhook needle out of the way. Okay, so a bit hard to see because I'm using the crystal, but there's my end of my thread here. And here is my new thread that I'm going to add in. Now, the way I do this, I just tie a simple loop here in the long end of my thread. I get my working thread here and I just push that through that loop like that. And then I grab the 2 tails and I just pull that tight. Then I get my cigarette lighter here and I just melt the ends of that thread like that. And I'm just going to pull that tight, and now I've got a knot. I just rub my thumb and forefinger over that knot, and look, I'm pulling on that really tautly, and that's not coming undone. So that's one of the ways that I like to add thread in file line. Oh, fantastic, Angie. I'm glad you're all joining in the shop today. Thank you so much for your beads that you've supplied. It's been fascinating to work with. Shelley from Texas is really interested in these brooch pieces that you have. So if you want to pop a link or whatever in the comments, that would be fantastic so that people can see where to actually get some of these bits from that you've got. Because the next thing I'm going to work on after this is that beautiful button that you've provided for me. I think you must have had me in mind. Oh, you're back, Lorraine. Lovely to see you. Back again. Okay, we're still going on this piece, but it's coming to a it's getting to the end. So you can see that knot. I'm assuming might not be able to, but there's that knot that I've got in that file line, and because I ran my finger and my forefinger and thumb over it, it's just sort of rounded the knot, and the more you run your beads through it, the knot just sort of starts to disappear as well. So again, I've done exactly the same technique. I'm making that ring of crystals. Get my tassel out of the way. And I'm going to go back through that first crystal added there like that. And I'm just going to draw that tight. And I'm going to repeat that little sort of star pattern with the size 15s. Now it's a little bit gappy here because obviously this part of this tassel is a little bit bigger than the top part here. But once we do the netting, that will disappear. You won't actually notice that. So same technique. I'm going to come up through that size 11 bead there. This is where the tassel becomes slightly annoying because it starts to grab. Pick up 3 size 15 beads again, and I'm going to go back through that stop bead of that previous 4mm pearl that I put in, and I'm just going to, it's going to catch a little bit over that knot, but it did pull up. So you can see I've done that same technique again. There's my 3 size 15s through that stop bead. So I'm repeating that star pattern that I made earlier. So again, I go back through the size 11 in that little ring of crystals that I popped in. Watch that doesn't catch. There. Repeat that again. 3 size 15s. Up through that stop bead. Again, 3 size 15s and down through the 11. So as I said, it's a little bit gappy there, but that'll tighten up and you won't actually see that. So it's one of the things with, you know, tension is really critical with this type of work because you can, you know, change and move where things fit with your tension. And I suppose after years of beading, I've got a fairly tight tension when I bead now, but it means that I can pull things into line where I want them to be, and they will respond and behave. So I'll get some more of these size 15s out. So again, back through that little stop bead there. And so Angie, this button that you've given me, absolutely gorgeous. Where did they come from? Because I think people will be really intrigued by those buttons and where they can get them. I'm assuming it's a polymer clay button with a bit of foiling on it or something like that, but it doesn't feel as heavy as clay. It feels a little bit lighter. So I'm just curious as to what that button's actually made out of, because that's a really gorgeous piece. So you can see there I've just done that repeating star pattern. So I've now got the same pattern at the top and at the bottom, okay, of my crystal. It's covered off of my tassel. It's covered off that sort of threaded part of the tassel that I don't like to see. And what I'm going to do, just to really tighten it one more time, is to go through that ring again. So back through the crystals and the 11s at the bottom, and really just tighten that up further and further. Okay, and that's almost done. Now, when I'm finished with this part of it, I'm actually going to finish this thread off. Oh, finished it for me. It just broke off. There you go. So lucky I went through that a few times. So you can see now I've got those gorgeous flowers around the edge there. I've got the crystals and the pearls in that sort of little star pattern, and they're in the same line. They've popped into the same area. Remember, I put the crystal at the top and the bottom of the heart to stop that going through. And now I've just got, I think, now this end looks really beautifully decorated, and this end is a little bit light on. So this end, the top part of this now, needs just a little bit of fringing. And what I want to do is match what I've put at the bottom to the top. So some of those burgundy pearls, some more of the bicones, and a couple more flowers. And I'm going to just decorate the top of that there so that that matches the bottom part. Now, again, this is great, this sort of filigree work, because they've got holes in it, and you can utilise these holes to attach things to. So what I'm going to do is just come from the back through to the front. And again, the same method, bit of fringing. So a size 11 bead, a 4mm and a size 15 bead. I'm going to hang on to my tail thread that's there as well. I'm going to go skip over the 15 and go back through the 4mm and the 11. But remember what I did on that little earring earlier. I pop a bead at the back just to hold that in place. So I've now just popped a little size 11 bead at the back of that hole there. Holds everything in place, and I'm just going to repeat that pattern again. So this time I'll pick up a 11, a 4mm and a size 15. And I'm just going to go over that 15 back through the 4mm and the 11 and create that little bit of fringe. And I'm going to use that bead that I've popped at the back as my anchor to hold these beads in place. Fabulous technique this. It's one that I utilise on a lot of my bead work. It's probably something that, you know, comes out of sort of a bead embroidery technique, this sort of bead fringing. But this is a great way to add this onto glass, polymer clay, any of those components. It's actually got a hole in it. So when you've got, you know, beads with beads, glass beads in particular with large holes, you can use this sort of technique just to add a bit of further dimension to it. One of these little flowers, actually not that one, that's a gold one. I think that's probably a little bit off in terms of colour matching. Where did I put my flowers? Oh, right in front of me. I want more of that sort of bronzy pink colour ones, I think. So that sort of colour. Yeah, not the gold. The gold's a bit of an off colour for that. So I don't need an 11 there. So I'll just pick up a flower and then a size 15 bead. Oh, thanks, Angie, so much for popping your link and things on there. That's great. So as I said, anybody's interested in these brooch pieces that Angie's provided, or that gorgeous bead cap that I've used on the tassel, or the little red hearts, you know, Angie's got a great stock up there, and you can certainly order online from her if you need those things. Maybe you could ask her for a heart challenge pack like what she's created for me as well, because there's enough in here, you know, for me to make 4 or 5 things easily out of the components that Angie has pulled together. So yeah, just have a chat to her. Sorry, Angie, I'm giving you some more work, but you know, maybe a heart challenge pack might be something that comes as a result of this. And I'd love to see what other people would make with these components as well, because this is certainly my interpretation, but other people would have different ideas with what they'd want to do with this type of thing. I'll pop another flower on that, and this is almost at finishing point, I think. You know, you can pop a bit too much sometimes on things, but I like to think this is, oh, that one just came straight out again. I must have missed that. You want to have a nice balance. It's got to be pleasing to the eye. You don't want to overdo these things, and I don't want to cover off the components so that you actually don't see what they are. You still want to be able to see that markazite finish and that you know, beautiful metallic work in these pieces too. So again, I've just popped that through. I am going to put one more, I think another crystal on there, because the flowers are slightly larger than the other beads, so I think they need to have just a little bit more balance with, you know, another crystal and another pearl on there. I'm just, again, using those beautiful holes in this piece to hold everything in. So I pick up the 11, the 4mm and the 15 again, and the sparkle on these AB crystals, oh, favourite. I'm using 4 mils. The 3 mils are probably one of my all-time favourites. I just love the way they come together. So look at that now. I've got that little bit of fringe at the top, okay? I've got the heart connected here down to the tassel, and I'm actually going to run through there again and just tighten that up a little bit more. And we've almost got this as a finished brooch or pendant. So what I want to do is just come back through that first hole, the very, very first one. And as I said, you could use wire guards or something like that if you wanted to. But I'm actually just going to make a really good loop here. I'm not going to go back through the heart. I'm just really just securing that strip of size 15 beads here. And at some point I'll cut that tail off. So what I'm doing is just going back through those 4 size 11 beads that I put on earlier, back through that hole that's at the bottom of the piece, back through the size 11 beads, just really securing that by, going through there several times. And I think this one is almost done. So what do we think, people? What do we reckon for a design on the fly option with hearts? It's a hearts and flowers brooch / pendant. I think it's come together really, really well. These sort of big pieces. It's a way you can use big pieces and small beads together. I've added the tassel. It's got that gorgeous bead cap under there, that vintage looking bead cap, and then that beautiful brooch back. So again, you can put a chain onto that and make that a pendant if you wanted to. So yeah, it's come together really, really well. So that's 2 things out of design on the fly in an hour and 10 minutes, which is pretty good. But what I'm going to do now is go on to the third one, and I really want to use that brooch. So there you go. There's the second piece done. So for anybody who's joined a little bit later, this was the first really simple one. I made one earring. I do have to make the second earring with a pair of red enamel hearts. I'm going to have a slight bead table cleanup because I've got stuff everywhere as usual. And I'm going to have a look at now this beautiful button that Angie's provided. So if you've joined me a bit later, part of what I've done today of design on the fly is Angie from Chicky Babes Beads has been my supplier today, who's given me a mystery box with lots of different beads in it. And what I've done is just designed on the fly. I didn't know what was going to be in the box, and it's a matter of just getting creative. So look, clean workspace. Let's start again. So one of the things that Angie popped in here was this button. It's a polymer clay. I assume it's a polymer clay. It's got 4 holes. It's got some nice foiling around the edge. It's got the sort of pink, hot pink, musky pink and purple tones. And she's also given me some of these beautiful stamens. So there are different shapes here as well and different sizes. There's a couple of little sort of bead cap ones there and some other little tiny ones. I'm not sure that I'll use the little ones in here today. Look how that red looks with it too. So there's another bead that she popped in there for me as well. Looks like ears like that, doesn't it? And maybe, I'm not sure what that's going to go with. There's these lovely ginkgo red beads as well. So is red a good colour to go around the edge of that if I did bead embroidery? Maybe that might work. Or maybe that way they might go. And you could pop something in the middle. But I think the red is probably too much of a contrast with that. It's in the right colour tones. I'm definitely going to try these today. But I think this sort of appeals to me straight away, this idea of a bead embroidered piece. So I'm going to pop that onto some stiff stuff and do something like that. But I don't want to lose too much of the centre of that button. So these are beautiful, but they might actually end up being a piece that, say, sits at the top of that instead of actually something like that instead of on top of there, because if I put that on top of there, I lose the centre of that piece there. So I don't want to do that. So bear with me while I grab a piece of stiff stuff. Here's one I prepared earlier. And I'm just going to cut a piece of that. So, because this is pendant sort of stuff now. I think this is what this leads into. So something like this. So now if you start to place out your components, this could be the top, this could be the bottom, you know, and you fringe around like that, something like that. Maybe a smaller one might actually fit there. So I like to do things in threes as well, but you can see here if I did those sort of 3 components there like that, and if I do that same bead fringing, utilising the holes, remember I said earlier about holes that are in pieces, I could utilise those holes. I could pop some sort of crystal, oh, look at that, that's not going to work, some sort of crystal things in there as well. That's a really good shape, but I don't want to see, actually I know what I'm going to put it on. I don't want to see the stiff stuff. What I want to see is some beautiful fabric. So I have my fabric box, lots of different sort of fabrics. And maybe if I put this sort of, say, pink velvet or some of this orangey sparkly fabric there at the back, that's going to cover off so you won't see the stiff stuff. So if I pop something like this here, this goes on the top of that, this goes underneath. How good does that start to look now as a piece? So it also means that I don't have to cover over this whole thing. I can actually make that fabric shine through. And one of the guides that I like to use when I'm actually making pendants like this is use some of these, you know, the things that you get from Polymer Clay World are fantastic for in beading. So I've got all of these, you know, stencil shape things here. And something like that one there is going to be a really good guide to create my shield shape for this. Okay, so these are from, they're from melaniemuir.com. So as I said, these are organic templates that come from the UK, I think they come from, but they give really good shape. So if I pop that on there like that, I'm just going to get my pen. I want this to be slightly larger than this. So this is just going to give me a really good guide. So I'm going to pop that in the middle. Just going to draw that shape there. But I want this to be a little bit bigger because if I make it that size, we're going to lose that because the button is slightly bigger. So I'm just going to make my edge just probably about 5 mil. You can see I'm not using a ruler or anything. I'm just going by eye to make that size. Okay, so now that's probably just needs a little bit more off that side there. There's my shield shape. My button is going to fit just nicely on there. We're going to pop this bit at the bottom and then I'm going to do some fringing in the center. I'm going to put this fabric over it. So the first thing I'm going to do is just trace around here as well. Oh, actually, I'm just going to glue it on. Cut out the middleman, Paula. So I'm going to glue my fabric onto my stiff stuff. So I've just grabbed out some EA 600 glue, 600s. Yep, 6,000, not 600. EA 6,000 glue. And I'm just gluing that onto the stiff stuff there, like that. And then I'm just going to pop that face down onto my fabric. And I'm just going to trim that around. Now, it doesn't have to be glued, you know, to within an inch of its life because I'm actually going to be putting beads on the top of this. And then I'm also going to put a backing fabric on this as well. So this is bead embroidery techniques, and this is the sort of thing where you can just utilize the fabric to create stitches that hold your beads in place, and then we get to cover them all off later. So now you can see my shield shape is there now with the fabric on it. How good does this button look on that? What a perfect match that actually is. And then I'm going to pop that little rose gold coloured stain in there as well. but I want to be able to still see all of this fabric. So I'm just going to put some fringing in here, and I'm going to put, I think, a largish crystal right in the center of that. That's what I think. Okay, now the colors that are going to go with this, there's a pale pink, I think maybe some orange, because it's got those sort of orangey tones as well, and maybe some rose gold. So I'm just grabbing out bits and pieces that are going to go with that, and maybe a hot pink too. I think it needs that sort of hot pinky colour. So these are some of the colours that I'm thinking are going to go. Hot pink, orange, rose gold round, rose gold little spikes. So I think they're going to work really well with this. Now, I said earlier about metallic beads. So for this, I need obviously my rose gold beads. So I've got some size 11 rose golds. This is the PF 551, my favourite, use it all the time, and I've got that in a size 11 and a size 15. And what I want to do first is I want to attach this button to this piece. So again, I've got 4 great holes there to be able to use for fringing. I could probably just pop a little bit of glue on the back of that just to hold it in place as well, but I'm not going to pop the glue over the holes. I'm just going to pop it around the rim of that button there and stick that on the top like that, because I want to be able to utilise the holes. So that little tiny bit of glue there is just to hold that in place. So I've got my needle and thread here from before, so I'm just going to utilise that. Pop a knot through the tail of that thread, and I want to come up through one of these holes. So let's dig it. Actually, I'm going to go down through because it's easier than trying to go up. Okay, come back through the hole there. And let's create some sort of fringe, or what could I do? So I could do, yeah, I think fringe. So a couple of orange, a couple of orange beads. So it's a little bit of a contrast to the button itself, but it works really well with the fabric that I've popped at the back. A couple of these little rose gold spacer beads. I've got some of these square rose gold beads as well. I've got some pale pink rounds too to put in there too. I've got a couple of hot pink beads there as well. So this is just a really, good colour combo. It's going to give a bit of contrast. And then with the hot pink, maybe I need a hot pink crystal potentially at the bottom. I don't know. I'll have to go and see what I've got in the cupboard there. So I've just popped out some size 11s and some size 15s on my mat, because these will be what will be the metallic component. Again, I'm going to pick up a spacer bead. So this is it's about a 3 mil sort of flattish spacer bead. I'm going to pick up an orange and then a size 15. And again, I'm going to fringe. So seems to be a technique that's working really well with these components today. But what I really like about this type of technique is it means that the feature piece, in this case the button, shines through. So I don't want to cover up this button. I want to make sure that you get to see all of that. So by just doing some little bit of fringing, you'll still get to see the majority of that beautiful button. So again, I'm just repeating that again. So I've picked up an 11, 4 mil and a size 15. I'm going back through that hole, all the way back through. And I'll come back up through that hole again. Now this button has 4 holes on it. By the time I do 3 or 4 fringes in every hole, they will have joined up completely, and it will just be a little centre flurry of fringe, and you won't actually see that I've used the 4 holes for that. It will just look like this beading has exploded out of the very centre of this piece. But what I've done is taken advantage of those holes in that button. So just trying to find that. There it is. Bring that through. So 11, and by using different shaped beads, so in this case, this is the little square rose gold bead. It's just different dimensions and definition on your piece. So it's similar to the heart, the essential oil heart piece that I showed earlier, which is this one here. This has, oh, teacups. I've got some of them out actually. This has got all sorts of beads over the edge of it. And because all of those different shaped beads are on there, it just draws your eye to different things, shows a different feature and finish. It's got some spike beads and things. So that's the type of technique that I'm doing here to give that varying definition on the piece. So again, I'm trying to find where that hole is. It's a little bit of stab in the dark, literally. There it is. And I'm going to, again, repeat some of that fringing on the top here. So I'll use the different beads that I grabbed out to create that colour. We're still up there in Shepparton watching along. Angie has kindly put the link to her shop there for people who are interested in seeing some of her stock as well. So if you're interested in, say, the brooch pieces or these buttons, love to know where these buttons come from, Angie, because they're fabulous. You can get online and have a look and see what she's actually got there. I'll get rid of that tail thread in a minute because that's really annoying. Oh, yes, you're there. That's great, Kristen. Good to hear that you're still on board. Enjoying this. I'm really enjoying what's coming out of this today. I mean, these colours on this are just fabulous. Where's the hole? There it is. Literally stabbing in the dark. But when you know where the 4 holes are at the front, you can find where they are at the back to put your needle through. So again, I'm just picking up a little combo to make that sort of fringe. It's really random. I'm not really thinking about it too much as I do it. Di made the buttons. Oh my goodness, Di is Angie's mum, and Di is a fantastic polymer clay artist. Wow, Di, I will be getting some more of these because I think they're so cool. And I'm sure other people will want some more of these buttons as well. So, yeah, by all means, get onto Angie's Facebook or shop site and have a look at some of the stock that she's got there. And as I said, she has regular challenges and bead weaving sessions as well throughout the year too. So it's a great resource in our regional Victoria. And, you know, it's a good day trip too if you want to get up and have a look at the treasure trove that is Angie's Chicky Babes Beads. I'm just cutting off that tail thread. I don't need that anymore. So how good does this little bit of fringe look now right in the centre of our button? But you wouldn't know that I've utilised 4 holes to actually do that. So I'm just using these holes to anchor in my little bit of fringe, picking up, you know, an 11 of a 4mm and a 15 every time. That little bit of gold foil around the edge of the button goes really well with the fabric that I've utilised. That's just sort of like a lycra beading, lycra fabric. It's probably been something that's used for bathers or something, I suppose, but it's something that I use on the back of, you know, bead embroidery pieces. How cool does this look now? Go back through that hole there, just to sort of even that out a bit. I think I'll do an orange one. As I said, I'm not really thinking about it too much. I'm just utilising the colours that I grabbed out earlier, knowing that they're all complementary to this button and fabric, and that they would provide a really nice contrast. Look at that, little bit of orange, little bit of hot pink. I think I need another probably square one in here. As I said, I'm trying not to think about it too much, but sometimes you've got to sit back and have a look and think, what's the missing piece? And I'm just trying to push my needle. The needle's actually going through the polymer clay, believe it or not, which is okay. It's a medium that you can use like that. So you see, I've just used the pliers to push that through. And I'll pop, actually, I'm going to pop an AB crystal on there as well because, again, that little bit of sparkle that comes from the crystals is really, really pretty. See how I just love the look of those AB crystals on there. I'll push that through. Again, when I'm trying to push through the clay, I'm just using my pliers to pull that through like that. And what else do you think that needs any more? It's looking pretty good. Maybe one more crystal so that there's another little spot of shine coming through. Again, I'm just pushing my needle through the clay with the pliers. Trying not to bend it too much. There it is. I'm going to pick up a stop bead this time. So one of the flatter beads, the AB crystal, the size 15 bead. And pop that through again. Again, push that all the way through. Because I'm going through the clay, not the hole. I'm using the pliers to do that. There we go. Wow. Di, I think we should go into business doing this. These look fantastic. Okay, now I'm just going to think about this little flower that I want to put at the bottom here, like that. Just like that. I'm going to go and grab out a crystal. So I need something that's probably about an 8 or 10 mil, I reckon, to go on that. And I'm thinking a rondelle. So I've got some rondelles here in a pink. Now this is the type of bead that's just going to sit in that divot, just like that. I reckon that's what it is. Have I got any bigger ones? I haven't got any bigger pink ones. I've got some purpley, but I think that's probably too dark. No, I think that'll work. So this is just a really simple pale pink rondelle. That's it there. It's probably about 8 mil, I think. A rondelle is a bit flatter than a round bead, so it's got some little faceting on the side, so that gives a bit of sparkle. But that's going to sit nicely in this divot of that rose gold piece there. So I'm just going to bring my needle back through the centre underneath my button. Doesn't need a lot of tightening or finishing. We're going to back all of this with, excuse me, some backing thread. I'm just going to try this. I don't know if this will work. So I've just popped a little centre bead, a spacer bead on the top of that, a size 15, and then go back through those 3 beads again. So back through the spacer bead, the rondelle, and then the stamen piece. And that's all that needs, just at the bottom of that. I'm actually going to go back through that again though, because it's a largish sort of bead, so I want to make sure that's really secure. So I'll go back through that a couple of times. So through all the beads. My little dog has just come and joined me in here. She's probably thinking, who on earth am I talking to on camera? But yeah, she's just come in to say hello. Hello, honey bun. Yep, she's just looking at me, watching me bead. Okay, so now I've got that component. Now this straight away, I'm just going to edge this piece. So I'm going to I'm just going to do a couple more going through there. Like this. So thank you for those who've stuck with me. I know Shelley in Texas, it's probably midnight or something there where you are, late at night, but thank you for sticking with me. And you know, this is an hour and a half. I'll probably go for another half hour or so, and I'll do some edging, and I really want to get onto these as well. So in terms of edging, I'm just gonna actually I'll probably just use this hot pink velvet that's here while it's out. And really what that needs then, because I could probably do a couple more little things up here that might look a bit like ears. You know, that might be, you know, some sort of fringing maybe, some sort of yeah, actually, I'm not going to back it yet. I'm going to do something else. So around here, I just bring my needle out, just sort of at the side there. If I do something like this, I'll pick up a size 11 first, and then one of these little square beads, and then another size 11. And what I want to do is try and, this is a gorgeous pink rosemary, isn't it? Just do some sort of little edge like that around that piece. So I'll just go the width of those 3 beads like that. See, that's nice. That looks good. Come back up through, so the last 2 beads added. So back through the square and then through the 11. Pick up another square, another 11, and go sort of the width of those 2 beads like that, and make this really nice edge piece. So again, this is a bead embroidery technique, so it's backstitch bead embroidery, you could call it, but what I'm doing is just creating a really pretty edge to go around that button. So where's my square beads? Here. Oh, it's only 7:30 at night. Oh, that's good. Well, this is a much more pleasant time for you, Shelley. I know last time it was a little bit late, so thank you. And you've never tried bead embroidery? Wow, this is bead embroidery. Of all the things I've done in beading, is my absolute favourite. I love it because it's just so much freedom for creativity with bead embroidery. And I think it's one of those things, you know, like I learnt to sew a long time ago, and sew as a Girl Guide, and did embroidery with my grandma back in the day. And, you know, a lot of the techniques and things that you've used in those other crafts are really relevant to this. And bead embroidery is a, you know, really translatable skill set if you've had experience in other sorts of forms of sewing, because you're literally just sewing beads onto fabric and you're using your own creativity. So look at that really nice edge that's just popped around there. What do we think about that? Do we like that edge on there as well? And I think what looks really good with that is that it ties into these square beads that I've popped here, but it also ties back to the rose gold at the bottom. So it's actually about having some continuity there in how this piece looks. So again, I'll just keep doing these sort of square beads around the edge. I'm going to be running out of thread again shortly, but that's okay. Now, what have I popped on there? I've got 5 of those beads. I might just do a little row of 5 size 11s rather than the squares there. Actually, no, might do a crystal. Partly because I don't want to come too high at the top here, because that's going to be where the bail of this piece will go. So, yeah, I just want to be mindful that I don't want to encroach too much on where that bail will be. So maybe 5, 7, 8 size 11 beads across the top. See, like that? Maybe a couple more. And then I'll do the continuation of the squares on the other side. So does that look about even? Yeah. I'm very much a by eye person. Again, I think that comes back to years of sewing. You know, sometimes I'll measure, but very much I try and do things by eye as I bead with bead embroidery. So now I've just popped that little piece of size 11, little bridge there. I'm actually going to join another thread on because that one is almost run out. Now the beauty of bead embroidery is I don't have to join a new thread in. I can just cut that one off, and I've got a little knot there. I can just add a new thread in, and because I can put a knot in the thread and just pull it up through the fabric like you would do with sewing, I don't have to join the thread in at all. And that's one of the joys of bead embroidery, is that it's really easy to add new thread in. Sometimes it's a real bugbear for people when they're beading, is adding thread, but I showed you earlier how to join thread with file line, which is great for bead weaving, but for bead embroidery you can be really messy at the back of your work, because we're going to cover all of that off. Nobody's going to see that. And it's a great way just to add in a new thread. Really, really super easy. So I'll put on my new thread onto my needle. I'll put a knot on the end like that. And I'm just going to continue on back around here. So I'll bring my needle up through the last piece of beadwork that I added. Oh, that just pulled all the way through. And I'll just run through those beads again. So the 5 of those beads there like that. And now I'm just going to continue on with my little 5 and squares, 5 square beads. So again, I'll pick up an 11, a square, and an 11. Come back through those last beads added. 3 of those like that. Again, I pick up a square and an 11. What do you think? You like that? It looks really, really good. As if you are just joining us, these are some components that have come from Angie from Chicky Babes Beads, including these beautiful polymer clay buttons that Angie's mum has made. So, this is truly a unique piece. It's not something that's going to be replicated. It's not mass-made jewellery. It's handcrafted. It's a one-off design because it's literally designed on the fly today. I didn't know what was going to be in the box of beads that Angie sent through to me. And, so far there's been the beautiful pink and silver tassel pendant / brooch that I've made. There's also, I've made one of the heart earrings, but I will get on and make the second of those. And then we're going to make another little pair of silver earrings as well. So, great components from Angie in this mystery design on the fly box. Something I reckon she should be doing more of. Let's just do these mystery boxes. So there you go. I've now got 5 squares on each side. Again, I'm just going to run back through this again. And I think potentially just to join the top with the bottom here, I'm actually just going to run the 11s around either side there as well, because that then ties this top part here to this pit here. So how many 11s do I need? Let's just pop some on the needle, see how many. Bead embroidery, you can pick up, 2, 3, as many beads as you want. I just want to sort of measure and see how many. I think I probably need another 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 beads maybe on the needle there. And that now ties, this joins this component to the top part. It ties back to this little group that I put here. I'm just going to pop that in there like that. Look at that. Really good way just to sort of finish that piece. And I'm just going to come up. Now they do need to be a bit more secured. I haven't secured them properly yet, but I will do that. And go back through and pop these on the other side. So how many did I do there? 4, 8, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need some more size 11s. Again, these are the PF 551s. The light copper Toho beads. One of my favourite beads. I use this colour combo a lot. Pink goes really well with greens. It's just a gorgeous rose gold colour. So, yeah, a big favourite of mine. In, size 11 and 15 is one of my standard beads that I use all the time. So, it probably just needs one more maybe. I've overshot that. I'll just take that out and pop one more back in there. One more. Look at that now. And then the other thing I think to tie that together is potentially maybe a little row of say, crystals across the bottom there. Let's do that. There. Now I'm just going to catch those by couching that over the top of that little row that I just created. So I'm just running my thread over the top of that little row of beads and just doing one very tiny stitch over between the beads, and that's just holding things in place there, like that. Just hold that in place. And I'm just going to come up through these beads here. And I want to just pop just something just across the top there. So it might be, oh, I know what I'm going to use. My other favourite beads are these O beads. Demi-round beads. Demi-rounds are in a size 8. They're a really thin size 8 bead. You can see there they've got, and I'm going to use these on the edge as well. They're size 8, so they're a lovely hole, but they're really, really thin. These are perfect for this type of thing. So what I want to do is pick up a pearl, a demi-round, a crystal, not that one because that's a round one. I don't know how that got in the wrong spot. If you can see the mess that's going on here, there's plenty of it. A crystal, another demi-round, and then another pearl. So I've just got that group of 3. Beading is often, you know, groups of 3 of things. And then I'm going to just go back through my size 11s that I added on the other side there and make this nice little bridge across the bottom. Got myself in a tangle there because I've pulled it through too quickly. There it is. See, and now I've just put that little bridge there at the bottom of my piece, there like that. Okay. So again, it ties the crystals to here. It's got the same sort of pearl piece in there as well. My little squares at the bottom, at the top, either side. What do you think about this? Feedback? Comments? The sparkle in that. The sparkle in the fabric goes really well with the button. The rose gold and the crystal are, yeah, gorgeous together. So this now is ready to be backed. So as I said, I'm going to use the O beads in the backing. So this is my favourite technique for finishing bead embroidery pieces. It's used, oh sorry, not O beads, demi-rounds. I'm going to use those to finish this piece off. I won't actually finish this today because I want to move on to something else, but I will show you how I'm actually going to do that. So I'm going to leave that thread on. I'm going to get my backing fabric that's here. You can use anything to back. You know, there's, actually I'll get some leather. You can use faux leathers to back these sorts of pieces. So something like this, you know, faux leather in rose gold, that's what I'll actually use. Because what the faux leather does is actually give a bit of structure then along with the stiff stuff to actually make this piece really firm. So I've just got my piece of faux leather here. This is a nice rose gold sort of piece. And I'm going to pop some glue when I can find where I put that onto the back of my piece here. So again, I'm using the E6000 glue. I'm just sort of daubing some on the back. You know, you can go over your stitches that you've put into the back of your piece there. Just sort of got it on. Some people use toothpicks or, you know, icy pole sticks or whatever to spread it around. I'm not too worried about that at the moment. And I'm just going to stick that on there, bring my thread out, and now I'm just going to trim around that edge. So I find this way, just trimming around the shape, actually will make sure that my back shape and my front shape are exactly the same then as well. Try not to cut through my thread because I want to utilise that. So just pull that out of the way and go all the way around the top of my piece like that. So now I've got this lovely rose gold back on there. And I've got this beautiful front piece as well. And we're going to edge this. So this bead embroidery technique for edging, I tend to try and bring my thread out at the top because that's where I'm going to end up doing a bail or something else off there. Oh, you know what's going to go well with this? Look at that cord that Angie gave me. That cord is going to be spectacular as the cord to hold this necklace. Okay, so bead embroidery edging is utilising, it's bead embroidery back stitch, brick stitch edging. So I'm going to start with 2 beads and I'm going to go through from the back through to the front of my fabric like that. And then I'm just going to come up through the last bead added. What that does is it turns the holes onto the sides. The holes are now pointing outwards. So again, I pick up 1 bead. You start off with 2, but then you just pick up 1 from then on. Pick up 1 bead from the back through to the front and bring my needle out through that last bead added so the holes are at the top. This bead embroidery edge, this is the basic stitch of bead embroidery. It's the way that you can join your fabrics together. You know, some people might put a piece of really thin plastic in this as well to make it a really stiff piece. That's something else you can do. You can put some of those, you know, stitch-in magnets can actually go in here as well if you wanted to make it a brooch. As I said earlier, brooches are making a comeback. So there's lots of ways that you can cover off the back of your work with this sort of leather or fabric, and it makes it a really beautiful finished piece. So you can see there I've just added on, you know, 6 or 7 stitches or beads already. And I'm going to go, as I said, I'm not going to finish this now because I don't want to keep going all the way around, but I will go back to this later today and finish it off. So you'll get to see this later on my page. I'll pop up all the things that I've made here today and finished. But I'm going to do that edge all the way around my piece. And then I'm going to pop these little demi rounds in on that edge as well. So you'll see that later on today when I'm finished it. But I am going to definitely put that hot pink cord with that as well. So this will be a beautiful, beautiful one-off designed cabochon pendant shield shape with that hot pink rope. So I will come back to that because I want to move on to the little silver heart pieces that Angie popped in the box as well as earrings. So these, have a look at how cool these are. They've got a really great hole there or hook there to put our earring finding on. Great hole in the center there to actually add something to. And I think, you know, in honor of what Angie's actually given me today, it definitely has to have some little red beads just in that hole there. And it may just be that I'm only going to pop 1 through there. I don't know yet. Let's play around and see. So I'm going to get a new needle and thread, and I'm actually going to change my thread color to the smoke color this time. Because I'm using the silver, I'm going to change that to smoke because this is a darker silver than that sort of pale grey, etc. that I was using before. So I'm just changing over to smoke. Again, this is 6-pound fire line. Some people wax this, etc. I don't do anything like that. I just use it. It's all about your sort of tension and whatever when you use fire line. It's messy to work with, particularly the smoke. You get lots of grimy stuff over your fingers, and you can wipe it with baby wipes and whatever before you use it. I generally don't. I'm always in too much of a hurry. I'll just get on and use it as I want to. Well, that needle went through. I'll get another one. And I'm going to do something really quick and simple with these earrings. So beautiful components that were in my box here today. I don't think I'll get to this gorgeous key locket. This one intrigues me because, you know, 5 drops off that. I don't really know. It could be chain. Actually, it might be chains of beads potentially that go around that. Leave that one with me. I'll come back to that one. And, of course, this beautiful little red heart that Angie gave me as well is another one that might go. So I've got some more things to play with this mystery box. So great hole in the centre here. I'm just going to run my thread through that to start with. And these little red drop beads, I think, are going to make a nice little bubble of fringe, I might call that, back through there. So Again, I'm hanging on to my tail thread here in my other hand. I sometimes do this stuff so instinctively I don't even really know. But look at that, how that little red bead has just popped in that hole perfectly. I'll grab another one for the other side and bring that through that big hole. How easy is that? Really super, super fun, this one is. I'm just going to loosen that slightly so that I can go through that bead again. Back through there. Go back through, and I want to go through that bead again too. Eventually when I pull that really tight, those two beads are just going to pop into that hole. Back again. So if you're making earrings for someone who doesn't like a lot of fuss, how good's this? Little some sort of pewtery, type of earring finding, and I've just popped those red beads in there straight away. So easy. I wonder if I'm just trying to think whether I could do something else around that, and it might work. I don't want to do the nickel though, because I think that's going to blend a bit. Maybe black might go with it. Actually, black matte might go with that. Don't know if this will work or not, but let's see. So I could do, remember I've got that little hole in the bead. If I loosen that slightly, not too tight, so that I can still access that hole. Okay, I'll pull those tighter later. Okay, so if I go through the hole of the bead there, the little red bead, and let's add on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 maybe. Actually, no, I'm just going to do 3. And I'm going to go through the hole on the other side, go around that way like that. And then I'm just going to do 3 more on this side, go through that hole again. And what that's doing is forming that nice little ring around that red bead. So when I pull that tight, I don't know if you can see that there, but it's got that nice little ring of black beads there. Now, if I go through those 3 black beads, the first 3 that I added, so it's still loose because I want to be able to access those holes. I've just picked up 2 more black beads, and I'm going to pop them, go through those 3 beads again, and I'm making a nice little ring that goes around that red bead. 1, 2, 1 more bead like that. Oops. I think this is going to work. Remember, it's design on the fly, so I'm working it out as I go along. And then maybe 2 more black. So that makes it 8 beads then that are around the red bead. Through there. Now, if I pull that tight, the red bead should pop into that hole. Yep. And the black beads are now around the red bead. Can you see that there? Really, really simple, easy. I mean, I think I could possibly pop a little bit of silver now in there as well, just to break up that little bit of black. So if I just pick up a size 15 silver and go through the black beads there, so 1 silver in between each of those black, and this has now got its own little decorative ring around the red bead. Really simple finish, but a really nice design this has come up. I'm pretty happy with this one. So again, if you're looking for some really great components and unusual findings like what Angie's presented today, check out Chicky Babes Beads in Shepparton here in Victoria, and yeah, you'll get to see this type of finding and all sorts of other treasures in Angie's shop. And she does do bead classes and teach polymer clay and all sorts of things up there as well. And as we heard earlier, the beautiful button in the previous piece comes from Diane, Angie's mum. So great to actually have that talent all in the one place. So you can see there I'm just sort of popping that little bit of silver in between the black. I probably have got too many black beads. I'm going to just break a couple of those out because it's a bit loose. So I'm just popping my bead tulip. Oh, goodness, it's gone out of my head what these are called. Anyway, the best all, that's what it is, the best bead all of all time. I've just broken out a couple of those black beads because it was going to be too loose by the time I put the 15s in there. And now when I pull that tight, I've got this nice little ring here around the red bead. I'm just going to pop my needle through to the other side and repeat that. And then this is almost ready to put an earring finding on. So remember, I've got to find the hole of the red bead that's there, like that. So it means that I've got 6 black beads, no, 6, 8. I had 10, so I've 8 black beads now I need around that ring. So 1, 2, 2, 3, and I'll go through the whole opposite hole there, like that. And now 1, 2, 3 again, through that hole. Like that. Now I'm going to go through all 3 of the first black beads that I put on. That way. And pick up 1 black bead and go through the next 3. Pick up 1 more black bead. So this will have the same pattern, back and front, which is unusual for earrings. Often the front will be pretty and you won't see anything on the back, but these will be exactly the same. So now I'm just picking up a size 15 and I'm popping a 15 in the nickel in between each of those black beads. So 1 size 15. And then we'll put an earring hook on this, and this will be another pair done. So, for a sort of a 2-hour session, I think it'll be 2 hours by the time I'm finished. Yeah, it's just gone 1 o'clock. I've pretty much made 4 things. I haven't finished 4, but I've made 4 things or designed 4 pieces from the heart mystery box that Angie put together. So what you may have come up with this is obviously going to be different to what I've come up with. I've added some of my own components, not too many, but I've added some base components, as in seed beads, to this. And it's just, created some brand new designs for on a string, which is fantastic. So there you go. So there you go. I've just added that same little bead decoration either side of this piece. How cool do they look? Really, really happy with them. Again, this is sort of nickel finish, is like a sort of a markazite type finish on there. I'm just going to run that thread all the way through there so that it tightens that ring up and makes this little decoration that I've put onto that earring component really secure. And this will make a nice pair of earrings that are not too big, really nice size. So I'm going to cut off my tail threads here. And I'm going to grab an earring finding and pop that on so that we'll get to see these finished. Come on, cut off. Cut off my working thread as well. Could knot that through. I didn't, but I probably should have. Now, let me go to my earring finding box here. And I need a sort of a nickel-y colour. Something like that one there will work, I think. So this is a kidney wire in that nickel colour. Pop that all the way through. And ta-da, here is a pair of earrings finished. Not sure about the hook yet. I'll have a think about that. I probably need something a bit smaller, but that's another one finished. So I've done the earring with the nickel. I've done the earring with the little red heart. I've done the brooch piece with the tassel and the heart, and I've half finished the polymer clay pendant piece as well. So you can see there that sort of 2 hours work of beading have come up with 4 new designs, which is amazing to sort of see how things all come together. So I'm just going to flip the camera again. So thanks everybody who came along and watched me. I can't believe I've just spoken for 2 hours about beading, but you know, that's me. I love it. So thanks again to Angie for such a great supply of mystery beads for design on the fly today. Thanks very much to Shelley for tuning in from Texas. Great to see you here. And look out for these designs. As I said, I'm going to talk to Di about maybe making some sort of kit with those buttons, and let's get something done. And yeah, thanks everybody for coming along today. Thanks Lorraine, thanks Gail, thanks very much Rosemary. Bye everybody.